guys had a little change in the showrunner this year. With,
we didn't have a little change in the showrunner. We had a massive, it's been, as we have affectionately called it, a two-headed monster since the middle of the first season, and one of the guys didn't come back for the last 13.
So how has that changed things, or?
Well, we have yet to see, because we're just about to get into it. I do think, it changes a lot. Jeff Pinkner, who's the guy who didn't come back, is part of the creative DNA of the show. But because our show is ending, I think it's less. We'll see as we get into it, but I think it's less dire than it would be if the show was sort of ongoing. I think Jeff and Joel had probably spoken quite a bit about where they thought the show was going to end up. So I think that the blueprint was already there, and because it's those 13 episodes, it gives there's a clear ending to the story this year. So I'm sure Joel would like to have Jeff there to share the workload, because suddenly he's cranking out 13 by himself. But I think we're going to be okay.
How did you find out?
He told me. Jeff told me. Okay. It wasn't. It's one of those things. We're talking about creative content of shows and why, as actors, you want to take a role. But there's a business side of our business as well, and so it wasn't acrimonious with any of the actors on the show. But he's a man, he has a family, he has a mortgage, and to take a pay cut was not something that he wanted to do, I think. So fair enough. It's one of those things, right? At a certain point, you fulfilled your contract, and you have to make a decision that's not necessarily just based upon the creative content of whatever it is that you're doing, because life is long.
We had that on Angel, the second season, but you make it work. When
you guys have disputes on your shows, what is it usually about?
Never happens.
And how do you resolve disputes?
Well, Emily and I just, we'll show up, and I can't
deal
deal
with things
with
that
you.
Bother you?
About what things I don't know. It's tough to kind of recall, because it all happens in the moment. Whatever that situation might be, I don't really know. I can't pinpoint. Oh, she was doing this. Yeah. All I know is how we resolve it. Is that she knows what I'm feeling at all times. I know what she's feeling, and then we always come back and resolve it and just laugh at each other. So.
And these relationships are just that. They're relationships, right? Yeah. So a lot of the times, whatever it is in the moment, it's not actually all that important, or it's not even really what's annoying in the moment. It might be hour 16, in which case everything's annoying.
Yeah, exactly.
You might not have got a good night's sleep.
You're right, absolutely right.
It might be the middle of year 6, and you just don't want to hear that story again. So,
That's true.
I think it changes all the time, and that's actually about the healthiest version I've ever heard of it, because a lot of times things like that can sort of sit and fester, and it can destroy shows. I certainly have watched shows, and I've had dynamics that were less healthy, and it just poisons the well. You're there for so many hours, and I'm a big believer in a lot of the performance happens in the moments in between, and if two people are sort of standing at odds with each other in a way that isn't supported in the script, I think you can always feel that.
I think you can be good, but you can never be great.
Yeah.
When you're in that sort of situation, because I've seen, I've been on shows. Someone watching it on television might not catch it, but
they feel it. You
feel it. Yeah. Of course you do. Yeah. Of course you do.
And I think, my little pet acting theory here, but I think kissing and laughing are the two most honest things you do on camera. Is really, really hard to bullshit a laugh, because you can just see it in a person's eyes, and that second before lips touch, if those people don't like each other, you know it, because there's that
How about you, Lucy? Do you think that the sort of
it's important to keep my own personal life outside of what my working relationship is,
And to create a positive working environment. Part of being, as you say, high up on the call sheet is more so than in a film, because then it's sort of the director's job mostly to set the tone, but the actors set the tone for what that set's going to be.
Yep.
And if you were working with an asshole, the whole set, like you said, it just comes, it just sucks.
And the trickle-down effect is incredible.
It's fast, too.
It's really fast. In fact, it's much easier to destroy a set than it is to hold it together.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. And it's also much harder to be a dick than it is to be a nice guy.
But you
have to work really hard.
You have to keep going at it.
But I gotta say,
really
I'm impressed with the fortitude of some people, because,
God, it's like you really need to go home and
strong.
just write a book on it.
Yeah, totally. It's like, it must be exhausting being that miserable
so
all the fucking time.
It's like you're gonna have some sort of.
Well, this issue of Hours.
My grandmother says it's going to give you cancer.
It's gonna give you cancer.
Yeah. This issue of Hours has come up lately. There's some trouble on this Lifetime movie, Liz and Dick, with Lindsay Lohan. Have you read about this?
Now, are they really honestly going to call a show Liz and Dick?
No, it's a movie.
No, I know.
Right,
but really? somewhere on a poster, I'm going to be watching Liz and Dick.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a Dick and Peter sometime?
Yeah, isn't there? Were none of these people never teenage
not the
boys?
question.
Like,
Are you finishing it?
The question is,
are you finishing Liz and Dick?
No,
but
are they
they are finishing it, but there's been some controversy around it because of the
Bunch and also take our responsibility very seriously. And I don't think we can ever blame the industry for.
Well, I'm going to take a counterpoint to that because I think it seems like, I mean, I know you fairly well at this point. We've met. I know you. It seems like everybody here is like, conscientious professionals. I actually do, and so I would never say you can never leave a set. That's ridiculous. You can't show up late because the knock-on effect of that ruins a day. Yep. But I always think that it's a bit penny wise and pound foolish. If you're burning your crew at like 14, 16 hours a day for 7, 8, 9 months out of the year, which is not to say that it's not your responsibility to show up and work, but I do think that it's just diminishing returns. People are burnt out. And I certainly felt it in Dawson's Creek. I feel it in Fringe. The most crucial shows of the year are the last 3 or 4 as you're finishing up your arc, and everybody's dead.
But don't you feel, therefore, as an actor, the worst, because our crews always work longer hours than we do, and frankly work so much harder than most of it. And I'm not saying that about you because you are far more present on your show than I am on mine. But like my crew works harder than I will ever work, and so how dare I be too exhausted to show up for work?
But I also think I totally agree with both points. I mean, I was after working to finish this schedule because we care about you and what you say.
The crew, like if we're going to work a 16-hour day into 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning, you can't ask those people to drive home and deal with their families.
But like the situation he's talking about is an actor who's not.
Yeah,
Look,
that's true.
I've been doing this for 23 years. I've never missed a day's work. I can probably count on one hand the times, other than maybe 5 or 10 minutes, I've been late. You just don't do that.
I also all the time I think about, especially to bring it all back to Comic-Con.
Nice.
Sorry, not about Comic-Con. Sorry, but like when you're out there and you're expending,
And then God knows what.
But also, I fear a generation of humans, but for what we're talking about here, actors who don't have an internal life or don't have a desire to have an internal life that's away from cameras. That, this is a job that we all do that allows us the opportunity to go do something pretty fun and fantastic, actually. But then, like all jobs, when it's done, it should be done. And that's sort of, the invasions of privacy that goes both ways, right? Both coming from the outside, sort of media interest in this sort of cotton candy world where does anybody really give a shit if Lindsay Lohan, fell asleep or didn't show up for it? Does that matter?
No.
It doesn't really matter, right? And then she, of course, has fed that beast as well by inviting people into what we would all classify as your personal life.
That other side. Right.
And once you sell that thing, you can't buy that back.
You can't get that's not the integrity and your dignity, the respect that you have. Like, is that what your legacy is going to be? That's not the legacy I choose. Yes, there are places that you can't avoid getting photographed at, Comic-Con, etc. That's the point.
But
if you go to the most popular restaurant in town, you're going to get something that that's expected. But if you're kind of doing your own thing and suddenly somebody jumps out of the fucking bushes
and says, "Spank me."
Spank me.
And on that note, we will end. Thank you guys very much.
Yes, thank you so much.